Fire up your home or office with ultimate speeds. Keep up with the next generation on Dialog 4G. Connect to the fastest network with burst speeds of 40 Mbps. Go 4G with monthly plans starting at just 1,400 rupees. Dialog, the future today.
Hello and welcome to the Bradby pre-show on www.thepapare.com, where we're sharing the passion of this encounter which everyone looks forward to. It doesn't matter whether you're from Royal or Trinity, you're going to be looking forward to this encounter. But we have two gentlemen with us who are just from those two schools, because I don't think anyone else is really qualified to tell us what goes on in that cauldron of Bradby Shield encounter on the field. Guys who've been there, who've done that, both who've won Bradbys. I'm here with Bilal Yusuf, who played in those unbeaten Royal teams of 2001 and 2 and coached an unbeaten Royal team in 2009. And I have Milinda Gunawardena as well, who is a Bradby winner, who captained the Lions in 2008. Gentlemen, it's an interesting week for both of you all, because you must be knowing exactly what the lead up to the Bradbys like. You captained, you've coached, the pressures are completely different on and off the field. It's a tough week for the players as well. What must the two camps be going through now? Bilal, if I can ask you first.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the build-up is always a bit more intensified, particularly around the ground and around the training schedules. I think from a training stance, what the teams do would they probably look to follow the same processes they've followed through the season. But I think the pressure tends to build up on the players, and it's a case of managing those pressures. And I think that's where the coaching team and the committees and the captain and the senior players look to come into play, by managing that pressure and ensuring that they can achieve peak performance come Saturday.
Millie, it's supposed to be just another game, but is it really?
It's not, it's totally different game to all the other games we played during the season. The Bradby is a very important game to both schools, and as a schoolboy, the feeling or the pressure you have is it's difficult to say. It's something I still feel. This is probably still the most exciting week for me of the year, the Bradby week. So it's something you look forward to, something you're a bit nervous about, but you definitely look forward to it.
Okay, that's a pretty sad admission on your part, Millie, given that it's been 6 years since you left school, but let's not get into that. Three of those years we've had Trinity winning the Bradby, and that's quite a long stretch. So you think there's a little bit more pressure on that team not to lose that streak?
There is, but I would say the team should not really worry about the past performances. We rarely think about, okay, last year we won the game, this year it's a different thing. You obviously need to win the game, but you need to take it as a fresh game, a new year. So what matters is this year and the challenge they have in front of them this weekend.
Yeah, experience plays a huge part in that, Bilal, and I'll ask you that question. Trinity, tremendously experienced. They've got almost the entire team left from last year. Royal, on the other hand, don't have that privilege. So do you think that's a strength or a weakness for Royal, given the fact that these boys haven't experienced losing as much as just like they haven't experienced winning? Will that be an issue?
Yeah, I think, Shanaka, if you look at the team, I think Royal got about 7 colorsmen, but the positive is I think there are about 10 players who have previous first 15 experience, about 10 players in total who have played first 15 rugby last year. And I think there's one distinct advantage for Royal is, I think, from those 7 colorsmen, the experience beating Trinity in that second leg despite not winning the Bradby at the Royal Complex. So I think that could have be a real morale booster coming into that year, because that psychological barrier could have been broken to a certain extent. But for sure Trinity would have the upper hand, say, from a psychological point of view, winning the Bradby for 3 years. So, but it's a matter of the mindset. I'm sure, no doubt, Coach Martis would be working on that this week.
And we've had a situation where in those 3 years we've had teams sharing the legs, so to speak. And it hasn't been one dominant team that has been winning both legs in the recent past. And is that a reflection of how hard it is to win the whole thing nowadays? Is it just a reflection of how the gap has closed, or what is it? Is it just that the teams are equally mediocre? Bilal, I'll ask you both that question. You can go first.
Yeah, well, I think Shanaka, it's probably also, I think one key factor has been the games being moved, the time limit being moved to 80 minutes. So I think that also plays a big role, because sometimes when teams have sort of closed out winning the Bradby, they can take the gas off their foot off the pedal and tend to relax. So I think that also has played a bit of a role. But generally, I think if you look at it over the last 3 years, probably except for last year, if you look at 2012 and 2011, Trinity have definitely had a big upper hand over Royal. So, but I think the gap is closing by looking at some of the performances this season. I think we are in for a very close game.
Billy, what's your take on the fact that the games are so evenly shared now?
Yeah, it also, I would like to talk about the attitude that the players bring into the game. So it all depends on the attitude, how much of heart you have to win the Bradby at the end of the day. So that's how sometimes you see that the two games are shared, but at the end of the day, one team ends winning the Bradby.
I can't remember the exact details, but has any team come from behind to win the Bradby in the last 3 years?
Yes, Murad Ramzin's team in 2011, I think they're about 20 odd points behind, and the final scores of the second leg was 43.
40 points.
40 points to 3.
Yeah, it was in Shahan Patirana's year.
Yes.
And I think they came back from 8 points, if I'm not mistaken.
So there you see, leadership also plays a huge role in coming back. Murad Ramzin was a very good captain. He was a guy very experienced and got really good leadership qualities. So how much is leadership important today? You've had players who have been very good as captains from both sides, but do you think that's going to make a difference this year?
Leadership definitely has a vital role to play in both legs in the Bradby, especially when you have, say, a relatively junior team. Experience matters when it comes to a Bradby. It matters how many Bradbys you played before, and the more Bradbys you play, the less nervous you are, and that's what I've personally experienced. As a leader, you need to be strong. Sometimes you can be nervous, but it shouldn't show, and it's always about calming the nerves of the junior players, ensuring that they are good enough, that they are skilled enough, and that they're definitely good enough to play be a part of Bradby. Because I think for each and every player in the squad, before we play the Bradby, it's about getting into the team that plays the Bradby. So that squad of 22 players. So after that, it's about the leader has a vital role to play in encouraging those junior players, newcomers, the jersey winners, making sure the team sticks together, and on and off the field both talk to all players, and especially the junior players, and encourage them always. So I think the leader has a vital role to play when it comes to Bradby.
Yep, and I'm sure Tarindra Rathwas is going to do that for Trinity. Nimshan Jayawardena, Bilal, a guy who came actually from Trinity and he's captaining against his old school. You've coached him. Does he have the personality to bring out the best in his team?
Yeah, I would think Nimshan is probably the kind of player who would look to lead through performance. I mean, he doesn't say much, but sometimes his performance can inspire the rest of the players. So I think that's one of his strengths, probably the leadership. It's not all about, being very noisy on the or chirpy on the ground. So I think one of his key characteristics, I think he looks to inspire through performance. And also he has had to take the added burden of being the place kicker this season without having kicked previously. So I think he's settled into that role quite well this season.
Fire up your home or office with ultimate speeds. Keep up with the next generation on Dialog 4G. Connect to the fastest network with burst speeds of 40 Mbps. Go 4G with monthly plans starting at just 1,400 rupees. Dialog, the future today.
And let's talk tactics, Bilal. As a coach, that's something I know it's dear to your heart. But Royal have been playing this 10-man game for a while now, and they've looked to actively try and move away from it, but it's still something that they go back to, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, it's quite interesting, because I think for the few games we've even seen this season, they've tried to, I think, open up a bit in those first 20-30 minutes, which has resulted in a couple of turnovers, and then they see they're against the scoreboard, and then they tend to revert back to keeping it extremely tight and looking to maul and just grind away. So it's sometimes something which is very difficult to move away from overnight, and sometimes it's a matter of probably playing to your strengths. And I would think at the moment still Royal are very comfortable playing that sort of rugby, but probably they may need to look to open up during certain situations come this Saturday, because Trinity would be very well aware of that, and they have to be they have defended that sort of game plan quite well over the last couple of years. And it's a sort of a game plan, Shanaka, where you've got to be extremely clinical. One mistake which could result in a turnover, and it could be a costly try. And one thing we know is Trinity are very good off the turnover ball. So if Royal are going to continue to play that style which has been used for the last couple of years, they've got to be extremely clinical and make sure they hold on to the ball.
And tactically, what do you think, Millie, the Trinitians are going to employ? They've got a very big forward pack, a strong forward pack. They're well conditioned in the back line. They've got some experienced runners as well. So where do you think the threat is for them?
I think, Shanaka, we haven't used our forward pack as much as we could have over the past few games. We could definitely have a few runners down the middle, and get. We tend to work to the corner in the first place itself. So I would say that if Trinity can consider a lot of forward play, and then try and get the backs involved, because definitely skill wise, I feel Trinity has the edge. The Trinity has a splendid 3/4 line, which is always dangerous with ball, and the forwards I feel could do more and could be utilized more to create those opportunities for the backs.
The set piece is going to be vitally important, Bilal. You've seen both teams this season. Where do you think that battle is going to be won?
Yeah, I think Royal have been very dominant over particularly rolling more probably over the last 5 to 6 years. That's been one of their real main attacking weapons. They've scored lots of tries over those last 5 years in the maul. But one worry I think for Royal has been the scrum. They've, I think, from the St. Joseph's and Isipatana match, they were outshoved in most of the scrums. And I think they're probably going to come up against the strongest front row in the school season this week. And they would need to probably really tighten up there, because if they do not have a very steady scrum, they're going to really struggle to launch a good first phase attacking ball. And they could be on the back foot from the word go, which would also prevent them from playing that forwards-oriented game they're looking for. The maul also, I would think Royal may need to sometimes just, because Trinity, one tactic they employed over the last couple of years to defend the Royal maul has been, they've been sacking extremely well. So I think the Royalists would probably may need to go for a few short man lineouts midfield and use the maul probably a bit more sparingly, because I think Trinity have been very good in that department as well.
Fire up your home or office with ultimate speeds. Keep up with the next generation on Dialog 4G. Connect to the fastest network with burst speeds of 40 Mbps. Go 4G with monthly plans starting at just 1,400 rupees. Dialog, the future today.
Coming to the refereeing, sacking is obviously something that a lot of local referees are not big on. So we might see quite a few penalties at scrum time, line-out time, and even at the breakdown. So do you think that place kicking is what's going to win and lose this Bradby, at least the first leg, Millie?
Place kicking obviously has its important role in the game, but I would say the referee's part would be in letting the game flow. I think most referees tend to block that flow or not let it flow. I think if you take a Super 14 game, the way the game flows it's nice to watch, and I hope the referee lets that sort of game take place, because I think both sides are capable of playing that open, fast game. That the referee also has a important role in letting that happen.
Bilal, you agree? You think both sides are capable of it?
Let me be honest. I think Trinity have a bit more capability in the back line. There's no doubt about it. And I would think probably Royal may actually prefer a referee who's a bit more whistle savvy, so they can slow down the game and play it at their own pace. But of course, it's one thing is the referees have been very poor over the last few years is controlling the breakdown. Because whatever sort of game Royal or Trinity are looking to play, you need them to police the breakdown very well and constantly communicate with the players. So whatever style that's played, still you can have that free-flowing rugby as long as that breakdown is controlled well.
Well, Nimshan versus Tarinder, they're both captains, they're both place kickers. Will they come through the pressure?
Well, that remains to be seen really, because we have also seen sometimes Tarinder can tend to get rattled. He's been a thorn in the flesh for the Royalists for the last 2 years. And I think if Royal are really looking to win the Bradby, he's one player that they would really need to probably curtail. But he's a very intelligent player as well, Tarinder Ratpatha, because I think he knows most schools see him as the danger man. So what he tends to do is sometimes hold back in this first 50-60 minutes because he knows he's being marked and watched. And once fatigue sets in the opposition, and then the focus shifts to other players and the game just tends to open up, that's where he tends to step up. And if I remember correct, in both the 2012 and 2013 Bradbys, when he has scored the try, it has been in those last 10-15 minutes. So one thing if Royal are really looking to do is they've got to really mark him. With regard to Nimshan Jayawardena, he's just a very instinctive player. If Trinity are smart, they won't kick down his throat because he's looked extremely dangerous this season whenever he's got the ball in hand. But one thing he would do is once he makes that initial break to look for support either way and finish that try. So I think he'll just continue to play his natural game, but the added burden of the place kicking could sometimes take its toll.
Millie, do you talk about opposition players? When you were captaining in 2008, did you worry about the opposition guys? Did you say, okay, you've got to worry about this guy, I've got to worry about this guy?
Not at all, Shanaka. We never spoke about the opposition. We had a plan. It was a matter of sticking to that plan during the game, and it was a matter of getting everyone in the game, getting the team together, and getting the players to do their part on the field. So we never really worried about the opposition.
Fire up your home or office with ultimate speeds. Keep up with the next generation on Dialog 4G. Connect to the fastest network with burst speeds of 40 Mbps. Go 4G with monthly plans starting at just 1,400 rupees. Dialog, the future today.
What do you think that Trinity have got to do to win the Bradby on Saturday, or to at least win the first leg on Saturday?
Trinity has the skill, and I would say Trinity going into this game I feel also is the better side. One thing they would need to win this game is a lot of heart, and they need to be the hungrier team on the day to win the first leg.
Well, Lions versus Tuskers, that's how it's being built. Bilal, what do the Tuskers have to do to beat the hungry Lions?
Well, Shanaka, I think one thing is, like we would say, we wouldn't focus too much on players, but one thing is they've got to keep Tarinder Ratpatha quiet for all 80 minutes because he's going to be the difference, I think, between winning and losing the game. He's a match winner, and I think he's done it for Trinity in those last 2 years, 2012, 2013. So they've got to find a way to keep him quiet, and he's, like I said just before, he's very intelligent. He'll sometimes be very quiet for the 60 minutes, and once attention diverts, he'll look to start playing his game. So they've got to do that. Secondly, I think Royal may have to also look to tidy up the set piece, particularly the scrum. I think the scrum has been a bit of a point for concern, and I'm sure, no doubt, Coach Martis will be working on that. But one more thing is, and to avoid that predictability, there's no doubt they'll use the kicking game and ensure the chase is on, because one thing also, the tactical kicking would play a key role because Royal would look to play the percentages. So I think those factors would all come into play, and I think if they get those things in order, Royal, I think, are in with a very good chance to pull off the first leg.
Well, speaking of the coaches, we've got Sanat Martis, who's new to Royal College. He's also new to the Bradby. He hasn't really coached a Bradby side, so maybe he will be more relaxed than other coaches, maybe even more than you were, because you've grown up in that rugby Bradby tradition. So for him, it may be just another game. And you think that's going to help Royal?
Maybe, but I'm pretty sure Coach Sanat Martis being in the rugby arena for so long, he would know the importance of the Bradby for Royal College, and I think the build-up would no doubt be a bit more intense. So I think pressure-wise, I don't think it would be any less than it was for me the last 2 years.
You've also got a battery of foreign coaches at Trinity, but even though they've come from a background where schools rugby is not so big, they've clearly cottoned on to what the Bradby is all about. So they'll be feeling it too, won't they? Neil Footy has been around, and he'll know that if he loses a Bradby, then that's worse than losing a league title, or even if he wins a league title and loses the Bradby, that's a problem.
He's a calm coach, so I hope he stays calm. And like I said, I mean, the fact that sometimes, I don't know, maybe Bilal would be able to support me on that. Like, the fact that you're not an old Royalist or old Trinitian sometimes would help you. And I'm pretty sure when Bilal goes, he felt that pressure. And so I think there is a difference of an old Royalist or Trinitian coaching aside and an outsider coaching. So.
Okay, and let's take this season so far. The only point of reference we really have is Isipatana. We've had Trinity and Royal both playing Isipatana, and Royal lost by a point, Trinity lost by 4 points. Do you think that's an accurate measure of both teams at the moment?
Well, Shanaka, I think you could say that. I think, to be honest, I think if you compare both teams as a team playing as a cohesive unit, I think Royal have played a bit better than Trinity so far. And I think playing the Bradby mid-season would definitely be a bit of an advantage for Royal, because Trinity haven't still got into the stride, and I still think they're playing probably about 50-60% with their potential. And it's very difficult to hit your peak straight away when you're playing at that sort of level. So I think that's a huge advantage for Royal. I think Royal are playing at a bit of more of a higher level compared to Trinity from potential point of view. So I think Trinity probably still haven't shown what they are capable of, and I'm not too sure whether they would be able to do that in the Bradby.
So who do you think are favourites, Millie?
Trinity.
No, really. Who do you think are favourites?
Trinity.
Okay, Trinity are favourites. Okay, then I'm going to ask you the next question. Who's going to win it?
Trinity.
Okay. And Bilal?
Well, Shanaka, I have a feeling that I think Royal have the edge, particularly in the first leg. I think if Royal are going to win the Bradby, they've got to win the first leg, because like we just spoke a bit about earlier, they've got to break a psychological barrier as well. And we all know how hard it is to win in Pallakani. But I think if you compare both teams, how they've played so far, I think at the moment, currently, Royal have the edge over Trinity come this Saturday.
Well, there you have it already, disagreements between the Royalists and the Trinitians. That disagreement is going to be settled at least 50% on Saturday when the two teams meet each other at the Royal College Sports Complex. It's going to be a cracking game. There's going to be very little in it. And don't forget, at the end of the 80 minutes, it's going to be just a half time in this Bradby. I personally feel that Royal might just be able to shade the first leg. Whether that will mean that they'll win the whole Bradby, we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Bilal, Yusuf, Milinda, Gunawardena, thanks very much for joining us here on the Papare.com, and we'll be back to review the game, of course, after Saturday. See you all there.
Fire up your home or office with ultimate speeds. Keep up with the next generation on Dialog 4G. Connect to the fastest network with burst speeds of 40 Mbps. Go 4G with monthly plans starting at just 1,400 rupees.